Hi, welcome to EDSC 551. I'm Professor Bobo, and this evening I will be going over your signature assignment, which is due week 8 for this course. During this session, I will begin to share with you how to begin researching for your particular assignment and finding the court cases that are not in your book. So I'm going to begin by sharing my screen with you. And as I share my screen, you'll see that you have an opportunity to type in court cases involving school counselors, and you'll see some that will pop up there. As you begin seeing those that pop up, you'll check your your edition, your textbook. And if you go to the back in the bottom section, it'll say court cases. And as you begin to look at the different types of court cases, you'll see them in alphabetical order, and you can double check and make sure that it's not being referenced in the textbook. So Rogers versus Christina Schools, we'll go ahead and check that right quick. So I'll go down into the R section and I see that it's not there. So this is one of the court cases that I can use. In this particular one, we have the case is involving a 16-year-old student in Newark High School explained in writing to the school counselor that while the school count that at school the day before he wanted to hurt himself. So this is a suicide one, and with that suicide one and crisis, we would use that under our themes, probably negligence or duty to warn, or all of those are in there. So we can use any of those themes for that particular one. All right, let's go to court cases involving negligence in public schools. So let's look at this first one and let's just double check in our court cases and making sure that it is not being referenced. We'll go to the H's and we'll see that that one is not being referenced, right? So we can also use that particular court case. So we want to open that up and take a look at it. Again, what we're noticing is that the court cases don't need to have been resolved at this point. If it's still in court or going or being appealed, we would reference that during our writings. Okay. So in this one, we have the court case, and we'll see that this district was held liable when the results of the school or authorities' negligent supervision of the school and the students on the school premises, and the pupil leaves the school grounds during the school hours and is subsequently injured by a motorist. Okay, so we're talking about negligence there. Let's go back again and take a look at what other options come up. Okay, we've got Buzzard versus Eastlake School District. Let's just go and double check that in our book. In the B section under B's, and we'll see that, no, that one is not listed as well. So we can take a look at that one too. And find out what that one's about. So this one is in the Lake County of California. Damages for a broken leg sustained during the result of negligence of a school teacher who had charged off the playground. So the student was injured after not being supervised. And so again, it's negligence, okay? This may not necessarily involve the school counselor, but it's the school as a whole and negligence again, okay? So this also could be used. We can keep going. Here's another one in Maryland, and we'll take a look at our book. Gambriel. And that one also is not listed. So we can take a look at that one. And this is a full court case, 2019. And so we have one that is, and this is the facts. It says during the school year, the daughter was involved in several physical and verbal altercations with other students while in her sixth grade year at the middle school. And she received a concussion as a result of that. So we're talking about injury, and and you can look more on that one. So again, I want to share with you how we go about looking for the court cases and double checking in our textbook to ensure that we're not using the court cases that are being used in the book. So we've looked at 3 so far, and you would continue to do your searches that way. I encourage you to use the words in public school. When you're doing your search, use negligence, duty to warn, all of those different things that we see in our textbook. So going to our textbook, we've got child abuse for chapter 7. We've got group counseling. So informed consent would be another one. We've got bullying. That's a huge topic, and there's several court cases on bullying. So you can go ahead and Google that. And I would say bullying and court cases on bullying in schools, cyberbullying in schools, and how the schools were negligent with that, perhaps, or duty to warn. We'd have to see. And then we would also take a look at so these are all the themes that we're talking about. And then we also um, um, want to take a look at sexual harassment. That's a huge one as well. And you would want to say sexual harassment, court cases on sexual harassment. We can do that now. We can just do court cases involving sexual harassment in public schools. All right. And then we come up with these, and we've got quite a few of them. Um, here's some of them. We've got Franklin. Let's take a look and see if Franklin is there. Franklin is one of the ones that's listed, so we don't want to use that one. Let's go to the next one. Davis versus Moreau Board. I think that one is also in our book because it's a court case. Yes, Davis is also listed, so we can't use that one. But as we read over some of those court cases, we might find some other. Let's look at this one. Gesbers versus Lago Independent Schools. Let's take a look and see if that one's there. Probably not because it's an independent school. And we can see that that one is not there. So that would be one that we could use for that. And when we go to it, we would go to the Supreme Court here. And this was in 1997. So let's see. This one was involving a high school student, and respondent had sexual relations with one of the teachers. So we would also and we know it's our duty to report that information. So that's another one. All right. So I think I've shown you enough as to how to go about researching it. Let's now go over the actual, let's now go over our court cases, our assignments, and review the assignment again. Okay. So our assignment involves us making sure that we do some research on this using a literature review. So once we get to the assignment, we want to make sure we go over each portion. All right, so the signature assignment is requiring us to, we want to follow all of this. We're going to select a major theme, and we're going to analyze 3 relevant court cases. And then it says from literature reviews, but remember your literature review is going to come from duty to warn, negligence. What do the authors say about those things in schools? And then we are going to make sure that we include all sections of this in our paper. The paper has to have a purpose, so that's a subheading. Then we have to have a problem and a belief statement. Why is negligence so important? Why is duty to warn so important? Why is informed consent so important? And the belief and the problems about that. Okay. Then the analysis is the legal and ethical issues presented in each of your court cases. So what you're analyzing is negligence or duty to warn, or that's the part that you're analyzing. You're taking those court cases and you're sharing, this one had this one had that, and not giving us a summary of each one, but just basically telling us, due to the fact that the person was seen or not on campus, left, stormed off, whatever, that is what you would be analyzing as you are looking at your 3 court cases and how they share the same theme. And then you're going to break down the reading into smaller parts and examine the structure and details of the legal and ethical issues that are being discussed. You can pull research from other topics, other readings that you've already done with Dr. Stone on some of these areas. And so you're referencing why this court case is important, and why the person was sued at that time. Now, whether they were absolved or not found guilty, that's something else. But what we're looking at is, the importance of it. So in that section, you're writing, what is the issue at hand? What is the reasoning behind the issue or the claims? We're going to discuss any relevant research or study or any past cases, court cases. So that's where you could mention, like in this court case, and you can use some of the references from the book on that area. And then you're going to talk about or refute the opposing viewpoints. What do the opposing viewpoints say about that? And then you're going to say, what are the strengths and weaknesses of both of the opposing arguments? So that's in the analysis section. Then you're going to go on to the next subheading, which would be the findings. And in the findings, that's where you'll say, with your 3 court cases that you found, whether the person was absolved or what were the damages and who won, the plaintiff or the defendant, and who they were, and what was the damages. And then, of course, if it hasn't been resolved, you would state that at this time, and that it may be in appeals. And then you're going to go on to the reflection section. That's your next subheading. And with that reflection, you're going to describe how these 3 court cases impacted your understanding and practice as a school counselor. So that's where you're going to put in your opinion and how this has affected you and the learnings that you've developed from this particular assignment. And then you're going to write a conclusion, and the paper should be about 4 to 5 pages. Okay. So in your literature review, again, as you're doing the literature review, it's a small portion. You're just kind of making 3 to 5 sentences in that literature review about the topic and citing the authors and what they say about that topic. Okay. All right. I hope this video helps you and allows you to, you can review it to continue to assist you. If you have questions, feel free to contact me, email me, or text me in regards to the assignment. Thank you so much.